Welcome to CCxRC, guys. In this video, we're going to be checking out Kyosho's brand new 1970 Dodge Charger Supercharged VE. This is their brushless edition of the Charger. They had a brushed version that was in orange, but they've added a few other little upgrades to this as well. The Supercharger, they've got this molded plastic front grille in here, as well as tail lights, and some other cool trick features that we're going to look at in this video, guys. Stay tuned. Let's check it out.
Ooh, that sugar sweet, you got what I need. Sipping on the potion, all that good emotion, just my kind of heat. Keep it on repeat, tested by the motion, loving this devotion. Live it up, sweet emotion. Every time, every night, you and I on a roll. Switch it up where I'm going. Stay on the fly, listen time, know the right way to go. I'm on the road, it's my time, taking control of my life. I want to run the red lights, I've got to run this show. You always take me so high, you always make the high. I've got to find it forever, you're like a centerfold.
So here is the box that it comes in, you guys. Gives you some of the details about it. 2S LiPo compatible. People were asking that the other day. The ESC is rated for 3S, but the motor is only rated for 2S. But they still say top speed of 65 kilometers an hour. So they've got this thing geared mighty well. All right, so you can see the Supercharger. They're showing the aftermarket lights that you can get as an add-on. There's so many different things we'll look at in their optional parts upgrades that you can get for this. They actually came with a little booklet showing all the different things. All right, so here is the side of the box showing you the chassis here and the way everything is laid out. It says that it has sealed differential and transmission and full ball bearings all the way around. All right, so here is the car. It is a thing of beauty. I've actually gone in and we'll show you in a minute. I've removed one of the screws that allows the functioning closing headlight cover to come down. But this is all molded plastic this time, not stickered. The headlights are plastic as well, and they look really sharp. The lenses on there, super nice. Lots of scale detail. These are stickers down here, as well as the side markers are stickers. The wheels, this is a Kyosho thing. They actually use a screw, and it actually works pretty well. Holding their tires on there, guys. A few other things. So we've got this molded Supercharger, and then right behind that you have the molded windshield wipers, and then you have a single molded mirror on the side. You can see it looks pretty good. Sticker decals for the windows. They're sharp. It gives a nice tint to it. Lets you see inside if you want to, but not, fully easily see everything in there. Kind of hides the electronics a little bit. You do have a gas cap here. It says fuel on it. And that's molded plastic. Lots of molded plastic pieces, even back here now. The back end, this is molded for the tail lights. And then you've got a little molded piece for your license plate that has a sticker then on it. But it's multiple pieces here. It's the way that they're able to do the molding, the way that it's set up. And so these attach with a few screws on the back end. Does have body posts. That is the one thing that takes a little scale detail away from it. But they do sell these bodies aftermarket. You can get a clear body to paint yourself. And that also wouldn't have this hole in it as well if you wanted to do a little bit different theming on it. But man, does this look cool. Is anybody seeing something here with this gray look of a 1970 Dodge Charger with a Supercharger? Does that not look fast and furious to you guys? It almost does. I mean, it's a little different because of the blacked out wheels and this little red stripe on the back, which I think looks super trick. I really like the paint scheme. If it's not going to be orange, this would be my next choice. Lots of black, this kind of mattish gray look to it. Just looks really mean. So that's some of the details of it, guys. Let's now take off the body and take a look underneath the hood. At the very end, we'll get into some of the details of going through the controller, as well as some of the manuals and things like that. But you guys want to see the car up front, and we'll get running footage of it. Probably not in this video. If there is, there will be a little bit just overlaid at the beginning or end. But it's snowing here, and, you know, it's winter, so it's a little bit tricky for doing that. But I've got some ideas if we can get out there while the sun is still out and before we get too much snowfall. All right, so first things first, let's take off the body and show you the underside of it. This is where the magic is going to happen, folks, right here. I removed the screw from this one, and you can see how it's closing and opening right there over the headlights. So you can install your headlights there. It's got all the mounting pieces already pre-installed, and right now it's locked in the up position. You could put it down and then put the screw in and close it in the locked down position as well if you don't want to do lights and you just want to have it with the closed look. So let me just give you that look of it really quick so you can see what it would, get an idea of what it would look like. There we go. There's a bar that goes in there, which is right here, and it mounts to a micro servo up underneath a supercharger. I'll show you in a second. And when you activate the servo, it allows it to open and close both of the headlights. I've only got one of them right now that I'm doing, but that gives you an idea. And then where the servo goes is going to be right in here. You can see the two tabs. And I thought that the Emax was going to fit in there, but it doesn't actually fit. It's a little too wide. So I'll have to get the measurements and grab something a little bit smaller to be able to mount in there. It's just a little too wide with the Emax to fit in there. It kind of bends these out. So I'll see if maybe one of the ones from the SCX24 will fit in there. Or, yeah, just needs to be a little bit narrower than this one to fit in. All right, so they do come with the parts to do it though, and it looks super trick when you do it. But again, you could lock them in the down position if you just like that look and don't want to rock headlights. But I think that what's so great about this car is the scale details, and so you'll want to rock some lights in this thing. All right, let's look around the chassis itself. The first thing that I'm seeing is the aluminum drive shafts in the center here, and that just helps keeping it from twist under the power. These are four-wheel drive. That's one of the cool things is for the price that you get these Kyoshos. The Phaser Mark II lineup is just unreal, guys, for just bashability and durability with just running them just in any kind of conditions. It doesn't really lock up. They just take it. All right, so let's take a quick look over the chassis, you guys. It is a plastic tub style chassis. Everything is tucked down inside nicely. Up front, you do have that supercharger stays with the chassis and not the body. Makes it nice and rigid the way that they've got it mounted here. And they're just using these clips. So you could take it off if you pull these clips, pull out the supports here, and then it looks like it just kind of loosely sits on there and gets support so it won't break off. But does have a little bit of flexibility so that it won't just snap the motor either. So that is nice. But yeah, you could pull these and you can remove it as well. So that's going to allow it to move up and down. And then you take out these two pins here and these will pop right up your body post and you can slide that on or off. Which would actually make it easy for working on the micro servo is to just remove this and install it. That way, just a few body clips and you're in. Super nice design with that. It does have these plastic shocks, which do have the metal caps on them. Like I said, plastic arms, upper and lower. I've found these arms to be very flexible and very forgiving. And so that's a nice thing. Plastic dog bones also are going to be a little bit forgiving on heavy throttle and things. And it'll hopefully be a little bit forgiving on your diffs as well. But you can see the dog bones in there. So it does have a sintered pinion gear, which is like a metal, basically powdered metal that's molded, and it gives it more strength than plastic, and should be plenty durable for the amount of power that we're putting to these. But overall, they do make these very easy to work on. I've had my Mad Van apart working on a diff and it's been fantastic and very easy to work on. It does run a T-plug style plug for the battery, runs 2S, Velcro. I love Velcro, holds things in nice and tight, different sizes, whatever. Velcro is very accommodating in that way. As far as adjustability for your suspension, it looks like you have a few spots where you could change up top here, where your shocks are, to change the shock angle. But not a whole lot of tunability as far as your camber and things like that. These are solid plastic pieces. They're not turnbuckles. These are very beefy bolt. I don't even know what they are for, but the way they've got it mounted for your steering here looks to be pretty stout. You know, it's just running on a cup on here, which is nice. That could pop off if you had any heavy hits. That'll just come off of here. But this is very captured, and they've got a bolt in there, and it's holding your nut, and all of it is, I don't know if that's to keep it from grinding that as you're driving, if it hits things, to keep it so that you can be able to get it on and off. I don't know. It's an interesting design. So if you guys know why it's done like this, let me know in the comments. I'd be curious to know. Foam bumpers up front. These work great. It's very far back on a body like this, though. Actually, it's not too far back. But if you do hit something front on, you are going to run in your very nice body. So just take that into consideration as you're driving. I wouldn't want to rely on this bumper because it means that you've smashed the front end of this thing up too. So it is running Hex hardware, which is great to see all the way around. Let's talk about the electronics for a second. So at the very front of the electronics, I've gone ahead and taken out 2 screws on the top and 2 on the bottom so I can show you the servo here. And that is the KS4031-06W. They're Perfex Kyosho servo. And then tucked in there as well is right in there, you can see the servo saver. But just a few screws to get in here. If you did need to remove it, you detach this as well, and then that would come out and you could change out your servo. It is just a ready-to-run servo. It runs about 83 ounce-inches of torque and like 0.15 speed for that, 0.15 seconds for the speed. But yeah, just a couple screws, and they are coarse threaded screws, so they really bite in here. I'll put these back on and we'll talk about the other electronics. So right next to that is the KR331 receiver that works with the Synchro KT 213P Plus radio that comes with it, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So that's tucked in there, and it'll allow you to add that micro servo to it to be able to run that and open and close the headlight covers. The Brains 10 sits next to the receiver, and that is a 60 amp ESC, and it is programmable. You've got a little switch here on off for it, and then you can hold the button here and go into the programming for it to change things like the punch that it has or the braking. So I think it comes with 25% brake, so I might turn that up on mine, a little bit more brake power. Torx 10E, this is their 4000 kV 3652 sensorless, brushless motor, 4 poles. And that's running on a sintered gear. So let's go ahead and take off a couple screws here.
Ooh, that sugar sweet. You got what I need.
There it goes, pops right up. So there's the 32 tooth sintered pinion gear on the motor. You can see here how they have it set up for setting your gear mesh, which is really trick. All right, so we're gonna put this back in here. Lines up really good. Has perfect gear mesh because of their system for setting that up based on your pinion gear. All right, so while I've got these screws all along the front done, I went ahead and just took the 2 off in the rear, which allows us to see in here at the differential, which does have grease on it and is metal geared. Oop, and one of our drive shafts fell out, so here's a closer look at it. Plastic with the metal actual dog bones coming out of it. So I need to get this lined back up in here and lined up with our wheel, and then we'll work on getting this back installed. That's how easy though it is to get into these diffs. Just a few screws. All right, gonna drop this back in place and we'll button it back up. All right, so I think the last thing for us to look at is gonna be to take off one of the wheels, and that's a little bit larger wrench. Looks like a 2.5 millimeter. Go ahead and take one of these off and just show you the scale brake calipers and stuff they have on here. It's definitely an interesting hex design. I think it's pretty cool. So you can see it's just a long screw that goes through the wheel directly, bolts it on, and there is your caliper. And this can pop off of here if you wanted to change out to a different offset. Very slick. And you can remove the caliper right there with just a couple of screws if you put on a different wheel that wouldn't fit with it on, but super trick. All right, so there we have it. Pretty much all of the details on the car. Again, the shocks are oil filled. They're plastic bodied. Little back bumper here, just a plastic piece, but plastic rear arms as well. Quick look at the underside of the chassis. The A-arm shape and design, but again, these are very flexible, and I've never actually broken one. With all of the different vehicles that I've had, I haven't actually broken one of their A-arms. So the last thing is you can see all of the different spots for lights in the rear. So that lighting kit that you're going to get for this, you'll have tons of rear taillights. All right, let's quickly look at the radio, you guys. I've already got the batteries installed in it. It takes 4 AA's from the bottom, on-off switch here on the back. Lots of options on here: steering trim, steering dual rate, throttle EPAs, throttle trims, reverses, reverse speed, I think, throttle reverse, steering reverse. So yeah, lots of adjustability right here on the radio. And then you've also got this switch here, which would be for your headlights on this. That's your 3rd channel, and it's a 3-position switch. All right, let's just quickly power on the car. Make sure everything's working right. Servos, good. All right, let's quickly check the speed. Wow, that's got some speed. Oh, that's gonna rip. All right, we'll wrap up the video, guys. So quickly going through everything that came in the box with it. It did have these 5mm adapters. There's more offset for your wheels. This is the part to set up the micro servo to open and close the headlight. These look like different pistons and shock ends and some different screws and extra parts in here. Looks like there's a servo horn, several servo horns on here. So that's good. You got tools, wrenches, and a bind plug, and then another wrench here as well. So lots of things in the package. Came with your regular standard instruction manual that will get you through how to operate it, how to set your spring spacing and all that. So it is just using these little clips to set your spacing on your shock springs. So whatever your preload would be. So here's the set key, talks about how to program the ESC right here. That's a good page. And here's the settings for it. You might want to pause that if you want to look. But braking power, yes, is only set at 25%. Drag brake at 0. 3.2 volts for LiPo cutoff, which is good. Running mode forward brake reverse. And then start punch is at level 3, which for this is probably what I want it to be. Braking power, however, I think we want to try and maybe increase that a little bit. So while I have it here, this Brains 10, it looks like you have to hold down the set button until it beeps to whichever setting you want to go into, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. Braking power is number 5, so I'm going to hold this down until it beeps 5 times. After it does that initial beep, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to let go. Now, it's going to beep the amount of times for whatever setting I'm in. So it's 4, so that's 100%. 1 is 25%, which is where it comes set. 2 is 50% braking. And I think that's what I want. All right, so we're just gonna turn it off and turn it back on. And we should be good to go. Now my brakes should be set a little bit higher. All right, that is how you set the ESC on it. And again, there are different settings listed here for doing that. But I just want to turn my brake up a little bit. So now it should be ready to run. All right, so this is the last thing that I want to show you guys, which is the optional parts that you can get for this. There are a ton of them, from HD rear hubs to carbon rear shock stays and carbon front shock stays and HD front hubs, all kinds of HD parts you can get here. An HD motor mount, different spring sets, stabilizers, which I didn't show you guys that, but you can get sway bar controls, and they just mount onto these little guys right there, but they're not pre-installed. But it is an option part you can get if you want to add sway bars to it. All kinds of different hop-ups and wheels and different things that you can get for it. But it also in here shows the different bodies. So here is the clear body that I was talking about earlier. There's the orange painted one. So lots of options. Here is the this current body with all the different pieces that come with right here. The supercharger set if you just want to get that. Here's the supercharger body with none of the decoration stuff for it, so you could cut it out yourself or not if you don't want it supercharged. But it has the cool front grille and all the stuff you need there for doing the lights. Also in the optional parts manual is where it shows you about the install for the lights, and that is pretty slick how they do it, as you can see. But it tells you how to install the lights and make the servo and all of that work, which is right here. And it tells you the dimensions that you need as well for this servo, which is 22.5 millimeter width there. So you need a little one. It's a micro servo. And it doesn't really give a suggestion on what one to use, just the size. So we'll figure one out, guys, and we'll put a link down in the description below for this thing, and do that in a different video, show you how to set it all up. Well, that wraps it up, guys, for the 1970 Dodge Charger from Kyosho. So much American muscle power right here. It screams Vin Diesel to me, I'm just saying. It's winking at you right now. I left one of the covers closed on the headlights there. So it's winking goodbye. Thanks to Kyosho for sending this out to do a review video for you guys, show you what this thing is all about and what they've packed into it, which is super, super cool stuff. And as soon as they're available, I'll have links and stuff down in the description below where you can buy them. But check with your local hobby shops, guys. See when they can get one on pre-order for you if you're interested. And I know a lot of you guys already are, because I've been talking with you about it. So see if your local hobby shops have it. If you don't have a local hobby shop, I'll have links in the description below that do help support the channel here and what we're doing to help bring RC to the masses, guys. Thanks for tuning in as always. Have fun RCing. Catch you next time.